My father-in-law pulled into our driveway, beaming from ear to ear, with a smile as big as Texas. You would have thought he'd just won the lottery. There he sat behind the wheel of a shiny black Cadillac convertible. It was not a new black Cadillac. Okay, it was a Cadillac. It was not even one of the classic Cadillacs. It was, to me, a rather ugly car. To be honest, I didn't see what the big deal was. It wasn't until later that my wife explained this was the mark of success for my father-in-law, to be able to drive a black Cadillac convertible. Now, before we pass judgment, as I did that day, we all have those things that mark us as successful, that validate us. Maybe the dream job. I was certain that if I could become bishop, I would convince my mother that I'd lived up to my potential. Yeah, right. Like that was going to happen. Yeah. It may be a particular dollar amount in the bank. It may be traveling somewhere exotic or meaningful. It may be having a bucket list and checking those things off. It may be doing an activity like jumping off a cliff. It may be a particular relationship. It may be possessing something. I was certain in high school that if I could have a red Porsche, I would know I had made it. It may be the ability to retire in comfort and security. Well, that's gone now. And that's what we discover. My father-in-law had that car for, I swear, less than a year. Because once he had it, it was no big deal. And traded on something much more reasonable to drive around in on the shores of Lake Erie, particularly in the wintertime. We discover very quickly the transient nature of our hopes and our dreams, our marks of success, our validations. Sometimes we learn that lesson tragically, in an instant. I think of the people in North Carolina and Tennessee and those who have gone through the fires of LA. All gone. And much of what was truly valuable to them, gone forever. Can't be replaced with insurance money. All it takes is a death, or an illness, or an accident, and our lives are radically changed forever. A lost job, a broken relationship, gone. Those marks are transient, fleeting. And Jesus addresses this in Luke's gospel in what we call the Beatitudes. Now, Jesus' Beatitudes in Luke are very different than they are in Matthew's Gospel. For Jesus not only blesses the poor, the hungry, and those who are persecuted or looked down upon by society, but he goes one step further, and he essentially curses those who have wealth, food, and fame, citing that they've already achieved their reward, and that in the kingdom that is even now unfolding, things will be radically different. It's not an accident that Luke places Jesus not on a mountain for these Beatitudes, but on a level playing field, on a plain. It's a leveling out of the haves and the have-nots. Mary tipped us off that this was coming in her magnificent song at the beginning of the gospel. That radical reversal of fortune. It's not so much a radical reversal, it's simply reality. That in the kingdom, we're not measured, we're not validated, we're not marked by our successes or achievements, or how much money we have in the bank, or food in the refrigerator, or reputation. What counts in the kingdom is the cross we wear on our forehead. It is the true mark of who we are. Branded by God, we are God's beloved. Not earned, not deserved, gifted. Gifted by God through Christ. And we have that inheritance already. In the midst of a world that is full of chaos and confusion, that seems to be changing every moment, leaving us unsure or more sure, depending on our perspectives. The only constant, the only solid hope we have is God's presence. That in the midst of all that's going on in our world, all that's going on in our lives, God has promised never to leave us alone, but will walk with us, even in those absolute darkest moments. God is with us, giving us hope and courage and strength, that we may persevere. And so, in the midst of all the world's insecurity, in the midst of the transient nature of this life we live, in the midst of our hopes and dreams and marks of success, God reminds us that it's all craziness. That God will provide and take care of us now and forever.